Good everyone, welcome to this video. Today it's a review on the Ta-152 H-1. Now personally, when I was actually spading this aircraft, and even before I started spading it, a lot of people were recommending me to fly the TARs, saying, Joe, they're a lot better than the D-Series 190s, they handle a lot better, and I was thinking, well the H might, the C won't, and I pretty much came to that conclusion. Obviously, I'm going to be doing two separate reviews on these aircraft, but even so, it's just going to be how it is because they're actually pretty different from one another. It's just I find the H to be the better one personally, and there's a good reason. Well, there's a good few reasons for that. Now there are some differences that make the C3 better, but we'll come over to that when we do the C3. So the H1 is pretty much like an elongated D12. If you look at the airframe, it looks very similar to a D series. And that's the point. The TAR was built by Kurt Tank, which explains why the TA designation, because obviously his first two letters of his second name. And, well, with some of the way that people were flying this thing, he would be turning over in his fucking grave, because I saw people ground pounding this thing. Like, even when we was on the verge of losing, people were ground pounding in this thing. I really don't get why. So the armament is exactly the same as the D12, that being a 30mm Mk108 cannon with 90 shots and two 20mm wing root mounted cannons with 350 rounds split between the two, so 175 rounds per gun. Not bad, it's just personally that's a bit low. But don't worry, the C3 more than changes that with its 20mm. It doesn't change it with the 30mm, but even so. So the Ta-152s as a whole, they're essentially high altitude aircraft. The C3 is a bit more for lower altitude, I find. And that's probably the case given that they've got two completely different engines. And obviously we're going to go over them. But personally, I preferred flying the H due to its better controllability. As you can tell, these wings are quite long. This thing's meant to have a service in around about 48,000 feet. This thing's meant to be up there. And using MW50 boost, this thing was probably one of the most feared German fighters. And it's just like, I'm not saying like, or being a revisionist or anything, but if there was more of these in the sky, this thing would have been a problem. Let us just say that. Because I just found a pretty nice document where they did tests on the Ta-152 with American fuel. At least I think it's American fuel. But they essentially compared the TAR and the D30, well, a D series Mustang, and there was no contest. There was pretty much no contest, and that's pretty much what happens in War Thunder. A comparable D30 pilot can give a TAR a hard time. However, if the TAR pilot is also comparable, it's really going to be a struggle for a D30 to compete. A H could potentially do it, but that's a story for a different day. So, let's have a look at the engine. It's a Junkers Jumo 213E1. And if we quickly go over to the TAR, or the C3, DB603LA. Yeah, that's quite a big difference. And if you look at the power, it's actually higher in the C3 than it is the Junkers Jumo. So why is the H better? Well, obviously due to those wings, it obviously has better lift for the most part. And not only that, the flaps work a heck of a lot better on this thing than they do the C. And with this, you get better elevator authority. The elevator authority, whilst not still amazing, it's still good enough to match most American fighters in a dogfight, and it can actually match some Brits as well. Obviously, Spitfires are a no-go. You're never going to be a Spitfire. That's just pretty much how it is. But you've got the Japanese for that, so you don't really need to worry too much. But this bird, this is the better one, personally. This just felt the better bird to fly. So, let's take a quick look at my stat card just to show you what I got up to in this thing. Once I find it, here we are. 6 deaths, 29 kills, 43 ground targets. 73% win rate, which that's pretty reasonable actually. That's because 3/4 of the time, I was actually having pretty good teams. So I can't really moan at them. They were good. They had good teammates for the most part. Most of the deaths were to not A2Ds. They were mostly to P47Ns. I found those to be pretty comparable to a H-1 in some regards. I was actually like one of the situations where I actually almost got killed was by an A2D Sky Shark, and honestly, I could rant about that thing. I had to push my tar to over 530 miles an hour just to barely gain on one. And he had 2,000-pound bombs on the thing. I managed to shoot him down, but honestly, those things need to be updated to 7.0. That's all I'm saying. So let's get into the battle and let's have a quick look at what I got up to in the H. Like I say, I think this is my personal assessment. If you're inexperienced in the D series and the A series, you're going to want to fly the H. Good reason for that. And obviously, I need to go over the repair costs of these things anyway at some point. Probably will as we're going through the battle. Or, I'll do it during the C3 reviews, and then it's just easier because I actually genuinely forgot to do it. But even so, and the main problem is that it's just the fact that these things have really high repair cost, only because experienced players can club in them. Now nowadays it's going to be a bit harder for a tar pilot to compete, because obviously we've got stuff like the A2D, we've got Bearcat, we've got P51H. But all I'll say is this thing is definitely the better model of the two. Now that doesn't mean the C sucks, because it doesn't. It's really nice, but I just preferred the H. And you're going to see that when we compare repair costs of the fucking things. Like, seriously, guys, you need to fix your repair costs. So at this point, I'm diving down to, I believe, deal with an A2 or AD2. And there's also an A2D down here. And this is where my rant could probably go on about these fucking things. Not the A2 or the AD2. That thing's fine. The Sky Raider's fine. Sky Raider will never outrun this thing. Simple fact. It never will. It could probably give it a run for its money in a dogfight. But when it comes to outrunning a Ta-152, the A2D is fucking ridiculous. Now look at my airspeed. Obviously, he comes for a head-on, and well, he actually fires rockets at me. And I'm thinking, all right, that's fine. That's fine. I've not lost that much airspeed because obviously this match I was actually pretty close to being spaded, so this gives you an idea of how ridiculous that plane is. So at this point, I slam the throttle forward. I'm in full web, 390 miles an hour. And yes, I am slowly gaining on this guy. Or am I? Just watch that thing pull away, is all I will say. And it's ridiculous. I know it's a turboprop, and I shouldn't have been chasing it on the deck in the first place. But you can't tell me that thing's 6'7" capable when it can leave a fucking tar in the dust. The tar is probably one of the fastest aircraft on this battlefield right now, other than the Bearcat and the P51H. And maybe the 335 in a dive. But you're telling me that thing's balanced at 6'7" when it completely leaves a tar in the fucking dust? No. Just no. And if you've never seen that thing do a zoom climb, I don't know why I'm pointing here, but that thing can zoom climb higher than the 109s can ever get, even Ks. It can even it could probably outclimb a tar if you give it a long enough time. And you're telling me that thing's 6'7"? No, it ain't. That's all I'm saying. I absolutely hate the things. That was probably what ruined most of the Spades at 5.7. I've still got the J2M3, well sorry, J2M5 to do. And I've got to fight those things again. And I even make a joke in chat. It was like watching a Fiat 500 try and race a Ferrari. It's just, there's no contest. And I don't know why I chose a Fiat 500 to use in that regard, because well, those cars are shit. Honestly, one of my mum's friends has a Fiat 500, and I keep saying, I'm sorry, but it's just a girl's car. You'll never get me in that thing. Like, seriously, I would rather go in a convertible Mazda MX-5 that's pink than going a freaking Fiat 500. That's all I'm saying. That doesn't mean you can buy yourself a freaking MX-5 in pink and bring it to me if we was to have some sort of meet-up. Because I guarantee you I'd probably burn it with a Molotov. Anyway, less jokes about burning your personal vehicles. And let's get back to the tar. So, the climb rate of these two things are... Obviously, we get air spawn. And that makes, to me, perfect sense. So obviously these things are high altitude fighters, they're meant to be up high. And the climb rate on their own is about the same as a D series, if not a little bit better. The C is certainly worse in the climb department. And obviously in vertical maneuvers the Ta-152H is much better than the C. But this thing has a more violent stall, so just bear that in mind. However, it is simply due to the fact that I felt in this aircraft that when I was Spade in the D series 190s, obviously I spaded the D12 on the channel, the D9 was done before I started, and it's just the fact that I don't see why the TARs get air spawns and yet the D series don't. I really don't get that. So at this point, I wanted to pick out the most dangerous target. And I figured, H Mustang, that probably might be the worst, except for the Mark 24 at this lot. Because there is a Mark 24 Spitfire, and I believe it's, yeah, it's Leanne Dark. That guy down there in the silver Spitfire. Even if Leanne's, is it Jian or Leanne? It's Jian. But obviously, P-47's just gone down. That was an M, fully loaded with rockets and bombs. I've actually seen that guy in my own games on Allied teams, and he was just as useless there. At this point, I decide to rope in the P-51H, and obviously this guy's not got the most amount of airspeed behind him, and you can just see what the TAR can do. This thing is just pulling him in. This is probably one of the best diving aircraft that the Germans get access to. And when the 20s and 30s hit, that's what you get. Second kill. I didn't get an ace at the C, or the H, or the C, but I wasn't looking for that. I wanted to show what this aircraft can and can't do. Same with the K4. When I got that ace battle, that shows exactly what the aircraft can and can't do in a half-spaded configuration. At this point, it's down to me and that TAR on my left. That's all that's left. And this 14E, I feel really sorry for him. A 14E versus a TAR, there's no contest. And that's my third kill. I feel sorry for that guy. 14E against the TAR is just no contest. Like the TAR, if it's flown correctly, will absolutely decimate. And you can tell just how Gaijin's hit markers are, because even the 30 sparks on ground targets. Hooray. I decided to do a bit of farming here, because we've only got a Bearcat and a P-51H left, which, yes, they're dangerous fighters, but I still have enough ammo to compete if I need to. That's why I tried to use the 30 as much as I could, because I rely more on the 20 mils in this aircraft than I do the 30. Which is fair enough, I'm more used to the 20 mils than I am the 30s. So I eye up a couple of armoured cars, and oh guys, you don't even get me started about the BA-11. Oh, you pissed me off when you saw that. Well, you made that event public. Let us just say that you have pissed me off with that. You made one of the most requested armoured cars in the game, and you decided, oh yeah, let's put it as an event vehicle. Ugh. And it's World War mode as well. No one likes that shit. Oh dear. So I decided to burn a couple of the 20mm rounds. We nearly had a mid-air collision there, me and that TAR, which means we would have lost this game most likely. And yeah, it's because he was target fixated on the same ground targets as me. I didn't spot him. I don't even think he tried to maneuver. I did, because otherwise we probably would have crashed into each other. But at this point, we both go for the same ground targets. He manages to clean up all three AAA trucks in one pass. So unfortunately, that's going to be the last ground target I get. So at this point, I thought, right, let's head back to the airfield. And in a couple of moments, I'm actually going to look behind me and spot the P-51H. The Bearcat J's out on the runway, so we don't need to worry too much about him. Now, I did actually call out, so you can't moan at me, I did call out the P-51H, but the tar just kept flying straight. Now, the tar's fast on the deck. This thing's fast on the deck, but the C-3's better in terms of low altitude speed. Obviously, due to the thicker air at this altitude, the long wings are a bit of a detriment. That's why the C-3's better at this lower altitude. And as you can see, this Mustang is slowly but surely, he's pulling me in. I don't have the airspeed to outrun him, and it's quite clear that I'm going to have to do something to leave this guy behind, or alternatively force him to break off. And what I thought I'd do is, we have 4 J288s. The enemy airfield is under threat. So either way, he's got to worry about the 288s and my tar. And obviously at this point, he's now diving, he's touching nearly 400. So I figured if I drag him near to the 288s, let's see if he breaks for the 288s. And sure enough, he does. So I thought, okay, swing it round, I've still got ammo, let's go for him. And obviously he saw that, knowing that the tar is a bigger threat than the 288s, although judging by your airfield state, mate, I wouldn't consider that. He scores a minor hit, but to be honest, it didn't even come up on the damage feed, so it's not that big of a deal. He delays his turn, but obviously due to him having more speed and better controllability, for the most part at least, this is where the vertical fight starts. And this is where the tar reigns king. And it's quite clear the P-51H did not have enough airspeed or the energy retention to match my aircraft. And I just blown to bits. There wasn't a lot that guy could have done in that regard. But yeah, the H-1 is probably the better of the two. That is personal preference. You may have your own preference. But for a pilot who's less experienced and likes a bit more versatility, the C's going to be your bird. I promise you that. But anyway, I'm going to let you guys off. I hope you enjoyed today's review on the Ta-152H, and I will see you all on the next one.